I got hacked. Mars normally spends about 6 weeks transiting a zodiacal process. However, Mars has just entered Gemini and will remain in Gemini until around March of 2023. Gemini is Mercury's sign, and Mars-Mercury connections are often associated with lying, and I didn't get hacked. June 3rd, 1983, Mars was at 12 degrees of Gemini, and the motion picture War Games is released. Categorized as science fiction at the time, it's about an American teenager who accesses a United States military supercomputer and almost begins World War III. A day later at Camp David in Maryland, President Ronald Reagan watches War Games and raises an eyebrow, and hilarity ensues. 17 days later, Edward Snowden, who later made a video about how he surgically removes the internal microphone from all his handheld devices, is born, with Mars at 24 degrees of Gemini, which is less than 1 degree away from where Mars will station retrograde this year on October 30th. I want to connect this to the Max Headroom incident so bad, and I will probably, it will be all confirmation bias, but I'm going to do it, but not in this video. There are a lot of patterns to look at for Mars in Gemini and Mars retrogrades and Mars retrograde in Gemini, but today we're going to keep it light. Keep it cute. The Sibley chart, the inception chart for the United States, which marks the date and time the Declaration of Independence was signed. There are multiple inception charts for any business or country or entity. The Sibley chart has Mars at 21 degrees of Gemini. And just a fun fact about Colonel Leslie Groves, who oversaw the Pentagon construction and directed the Manhattan Project, he has Mars in Gemini along with Pluto and Neptune, and the moon in Sagittarius opposing all that. The Sibley chart also has Uranus in Gemini, and Uranus will transit Gemini 2025 through 2032 roughly. So what we're doing now sets us up for that. Historians who aren't astrologers have noticed a pattern in America with Uranus in Gemini. Things like the Civil War and the US entry into World War II. Back to Ronald Reagan, hilarity ensued officially in the form of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of 1984 and 1986. This amendment to criminal law legislation, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, both had the Sun and Mercury in Libra, and Mercury will station retrograde this year in Libra. It won't reach the late degrees of Libra that the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act ratifications coincide with until much later in the fall, after Mercury stations direct. Anyway, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act applies criminal law specifically to those caught accessing a computer without authorization or exceeding authorized access. Before that, if you went inside a computer without asking and you were caught, that was lumped into the category of mail and wire fraud. Also, on May 11th, 2017, President Donald Trump signs Executive Order 13800 with Mars at 13 degrees of Gemini, which is to support the growth and sustainment of a workforce that is skilled in cybersecurity and related fields as the foundation for achieving our objectives in cyberspace. So signs a bill to prioritize creation of the cyberspace force. There are lots of different categories of things where multinational companies come together for a tabletop exercise in some global disaster, whatever thing it is. It's a thing that does not respect boundaries, and global problems require global solutions. One of those things is Cyber Polygon, which happened this summer, but I think it was the 4th or 3rd Cyber Polygon. Anyway, Cyber Polygon is the multinational company and country tabletop exercise wherein the entire series of tubes goes down. And you can't have transactions or communications. Mercury ruling both of those things. And the CyberPolygon website has a native toggle, translation toggle between English and Russian. Or at least it does when I access it from my computer. If you're in Europe, I don't know what the native, if they're...
One time someone made a meme of the zodiacal categorization of movie monsters, and the Blair Witch was most Gemini. Meanwhile, according to Slashdot, spyware scandals are ripping through Europe. Sorry, this got blood on it. I've made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds. Someone on Hacker News, I think, or some Y Combinator video I was watching said, coding is bending a computer to your will. Have you ever read Y Combinator's requests for startups? It's a list of businesses that this venture capital incubator is interested in funding. I'll read them to you now. AI. AI stands to have a large impact on society. Bio. It's still early, but we're finally making real progress hacking biology. Brick and mortar 2.0. We're interested in seeing startups that use brick and mortar commercial or retail space in interesting and efficient ways. Carbon removal technologies. The Paris Agreement set forth a global goal to limit the Earth's temperature increase to 1.5 Celsius this century. Just switching to renewables isn't going to be enough to reach that goal. Cellular, agriculture, and clean meat. Recent scientific developments have changed the way we think about producing protein. Education. If we can fix education, we can eventually do everything else on this list. Energy. There is a remarkable correlation between the cost of energy and quality of life. Enterprise software. Software used by large companies is still awful and very lucrative. 1, we want to make the expensive cheap. 2, we want to serve the next billion workers. Mobile phones and tablets turn every type of employee, from retail store associate to the field services team, into a knowledge worker. Financial services. The world's financial systems are increasingly unable to meet the demands of customers and businesses. Future of work. Jobs will look very different 25 years from now. Government 2.0. 57% of Americans believe that children in America today will be worse off financially than their parents. Since 2013, this number has risen as high as 65%. We believe this mindset is the result of increased family debt, stagnant wages, and a lack of government commitment to provide equal access to basic services families need to thrive. Healthcare. Healthcare is, in the United States, badly broken. We are getting close to spending 20% of our GDP on healthcare. This is unsustainable. Pharmaceuticals, cell therapies, diagnostics, medical devices, and data are what they're most interested in healthcare. Improving memory. Human memory is too volatile. Compared with computers, humans have an odd memory system. Longevity and anti-aging. We spend billions of dollars a year researching diseases of aging like cancer and heart disease, but only a tiny fraction of that researching aging itself. Is cancer really a disease of aging, by the way? 1 million jobs. We want to fund companies that have the potential to create 1 million jobs. Supporting creators. The internet has made it easy to distribute creative work to millions of people, but no one has figured out how to help creatives make a sustainable living. Transportation and housing. About half of all energy is used on transportation, and people spend a huge amount of time unhappily commuting. Undeserved communities and social services. Tens of millions of working poor in America don't see a path to the middle class. VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality, have been a long, unfulfilled promise, but we feel the wave is coming. Those were some excerpts from Y Combinator's requests for startups. You can read it more in detail at ycombinator.com/RFS. I'm not associated with Y Combinator. Also, have you read this?
we all know but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our own preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic. Would you like to play a game?